Good morning from Portugal, Caldas de Rainha in particular. It is almost 9 o'clock and it is week 2 of living here. So I feel like I need to just sit down and have a chat with you because the first week went by so quickly. Like I don't even know what to say. All right, let's just start because there's just so much to talk about. So we got here last Monday. We arrived in the morning. So it was an overnight flight from Dulles Airport, which is near Washington, D.C., to Lisbon. So it was just my whole family. So obviously my husband, my 3 kids, flying into Lisbon and arriving probably around like 10:30. The whole flight itself was good. I had no problems. The staff on TAP Airlines was amazing. My kids fell asleep really quickly and so they missed the dinner service and, well, they were awake for the breakfast, but they didn't want to wake them up. They were like, if they're hungry, let us know, we'll bring the food out. So they were super nice and everyone was super accommodating. We arrived with a total of 9 luggages, so that includes our carry-ons and our packed luggage too. And in our heads, we thought it was gonna be very daunting, right? So because I would probably be tending to the kids, my husband would be tending to the luggage, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. We got those carry-ons, not carry-ons, but those push carts, and we loaded them up. We had arranged for a person to pick us up with a van, like a big van. And I just found them off of a Facebook forum and she was great. She arrived, she helped with luggage, and she was also taking our au pair. So our au pair met us at the airport. She was coming from France just to spend the month with us to help us transition and all that stuff. So it was the 6 of us plus our luggage, and it just fit perfectly. If we had one more luggage, it would have been an issue, but it was great. And the airport transfer from Lisbon up to Caldas was about an hour, maybe a little less. It was just a smooth ride in general. I hadn't slept at all on the airplane, maybe an hour out of the 7. So I pretty much passed out right in the the van. So we arrived at Caldas. We were greeted by our Airbnb host, which is amazing. I want to link her Airbnb, the place that we're staying, in the description below. And her name is Carrie, and we checked in really early. So we probably got there right around like, I want to say like 12 o'clock, maybe before 12 o'clock. But we got there well before the 3 o'clock check-in time. So I messaged her because, you know, she said that we can check in early or whatnot. So she arrived and met us with a huge fruit and veggie basket from her garden. So that was really nice already. And she has been so helpful. She's been like our tour guide pretty much. She took me around to the Praça da Fruta area, as well as like the specialty shops, like the butcher, the fisher, the seafood place, the bakery, the cheese shop. And mind you, this is like, I'm in heaven. I love going to little specialty shops, getting certain foods and everything. And I love farmers markets. So really, Caldas was made for me, or I was made for Caldas, whatever. So she has been great. And her husband's been amazing too. And she also referred me to her realtor, who also has been really nice as well. So really overall, it has been an amazing experience so far in the first week. This Airbnb itself is a good size for us. You know, it has 2 bedrooms, which we thought would be kind of tight, but the size itself is about 900 meters square, which in America, coming from a person that had 4,100 square feet or 410 meters square, I would have thought that we would have been cramped and all over each other. Given if this was long term, I could see that being an issue because we really need like a 3rd bedroom. But coming here, I do realize that I don't really need as much as what we had in the States. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, we had an excessive amount like way more than we needed to in the States. So now we kind of changed what the size we were hoping to get before for our house to purchase. Initially, we were looking at somewhere between 250 to 300 meters square, but I think we would be fine with 200 meters square, if not maybe 180, depending on the layout. So anyway, so more about Caldas. This city, okay, let's talk about the weather, because for myself, that was my main concern, was the weather. When we left Virginia, it was in the 80s, I would say. 80s, low humidity, probably between like 40% to maybe 50% humidity, and like 3 to 5 miles an hour winds. Now, on the flip side, when I was in Virginia looking at the weather in Caldas, I saw that the weather was like in the 60s, the wind was like 17 miles per hour, and the humidity was like 80%. So if you compare the two, it was a little scary. Well, now being here, I will have to say, first, the humidity was an issue for me, right? When I was back in Virginia. Here, it's not the same humidity, and people will say that to you. The humidity is very different, and it's true. You do not feel the humidity here as if, you just don't feel it. It's not the same like in the States, and everyone's gonna say that to you, but it's true. If it was 80% humidity in Virginia, oh my God, I don't think anyone would be outside. We would be baking hot, we would be sweating the moment that we stepped outside. Here, I'm not sweating, so it's nice. The temperature is cooler because it's like in the 60s, 70s, which feels to me like the perfect fall day, even though fall is usually low humidity, but it feels like that here. Or like when it's just entering spring. And the wind, okay, that was also another concern of mine. Humidity and the wind was a concern. Not so much the degree, just the humidity wind. I will say it does get windy here, but it's not horrendous as I thought, because one day I was in Virginia and it was maybe 8 miles per hour of wind, and it was windy. Like, I was not liking that. Here you have between, you know, on a good day, maybe 10 miles an hour to we experience 120 miles per hour. And it's not the same type of wind. And I don't know why. Maybe someone can comment why the wind is so different. I don't know. It was 20 miles an hour back home. Definitely no one will be outside for sure. Here, it's not too bad. Now, it does get really cooler, or I would say cold really, if it's 20 miles an hour and the sun is not out. When the sun is out, you actually almost need that wind, because the sun here, I don't know what it is, but the sun is super strong here. And actually our Airbnb host mentioned that Portugal has a saying or whatever. Portugal as a country is cold with a hot sun. And it's very true, because one day it was maybe like 3 or 5 miles per hour wind here. So, and there were no clouds. So it was a full sunny day. And I almost felt like I was getting sunburned after the first 5 minutes. And the only thing I can compare it to is like the sun down in like Mexico, closer to the equator. When you go to Mexico, you feel that sun on you, you feel like you're baking hot. But it's also really humid there too, so you're sweating and baking hot. Here, you're not sweating so much, but you're baking hot if it's full sun. And I realized I don't really wear shorts here. And to me, it's weird to not wear shorts in the summer. But I'm not wearing shorts here. I'm wearing long sleeves and long pants. And then, you know, on off days when it's like 72 to 75, I'll wear short sleeves, but I'll still wear pants for the most part. Or I'll wear a long skirt or something, which I actually prefer. And in the evenings, it does get cooler, so the sun usually goes away and it'll drop down to like the high 50s, low 60s, which is perfect to sleep in, for me at least. And I'm saying this in the summertime. It might be horrendous in the wintertime. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna give you my experience so far the past week. But the food has been, oh my gosh. I have to do a whole nother video just on the food, because It has been so good and so affordable. We've been eating out pretty much every meal, at least twice a day. Some days we will stay in just because of the kids, but for the most part, it's been, it has been delicious and affordable. But I'm gonna do another video on that. Are you loving Portugal? So yeah, I'm gonna do a whole video on that alone because it's been delicious. Grocery stores, I was kind of concerned like how grocery shopping would be in the city, and it hasn't been an issue. Actually, I quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy buying smaller quantities of things and then having a grocery store within a 5-minute walk, less than probably. With this Airbnb, it's the perfect location because everything is pretty much within a 5 to 10 minute walk. Like going to the park here, which that's what they're kind of known for, is that huge giant open park that's shaded. It's probably like maybe like a 7-minute walk. And I love the walk because the sidewalks are huge. And that's the thing with Portugal in general. Depending on where you live, the sidewalks can be very, very small, like a one person, maybe half of a person walking down the sidewalks. Especially in the bigger cities like Lisbon and Cascais, like I can't imagine pushing a stroller down those sidewalks. I don't even know what parents do, to be honest. Like, I have no idea. Here, it is such a mixture of ages, which is great to see. You see loads of young parents pushing their strollers. The sidewalks are flat. I feel like the city itself, except for some certain areas, for the most part, is a pretty flat city, which is a positive, believe me. But yeah, the city is just, it's great because you see kids running around. I mean, maybe it's just my kids, but you do see kids here. You see lots and lots of teenagers have a huge sense of freedom. The other day, it was a sunny day, and it was probably like, it was actually a really hot day. It was like 79, 81. Don't ask me what it is in Celsius. Still not there yet. But we went to the train station just because we're looking around the area, and there was a huge line of teens. And I'm not just saying like 17, 18-year-olds. These were like 13, 14 as well, maybe even younger, but just all taking the train up to São Martinho de Porto, where the bay is. Or is it, there's two different, it's Cilieiro de Porto, maybe it's Cilieiro. Y'all know, the Bay Area up north. The train ride is like €1 and it takes 10 minutes, which again, another positive. I forgot to mention this, I'm sorry. I feel like this video is all over the place, but the public transportation here is amazing. Given, I haven't taken it, but from what I've seen, it has been amazing. There's a train that takes you up to like the local areas within a 10-minute, 15-minute ride. And then you have the bus. The bus takes you to Lisbon, takes you everywhere, up to Porto, down to the Algarves. I think it's called Rio de Expressão. Don't mock my Portuguese, thank you. But it takes you everywhere, and like I was trying to see how much it would cost just to take us down to the Algarve, and it was about 25 euros one way, so about 50, no, I think it was less actually, because it was in the 40s for a round trip, but like about 40 euros round trip to the Algarve, which is really good. And it's about 5 hours and some change time-wise to get there. So if you wanted to be pretty self-sufficient and not really own a car, you can. It does require a little bit more work, and I would say you'll miss out on a lot of activities if you don't have a car. But if your main goal is to be a city person and not rely on a car, you could get away with it. And I will say though, okay, let's talk about Ubers, because we had that experience. We didn't have a car pretty much the majority of the time we were here. We did rent a car over the weekend, but for the most part we haven't had a car. Now one may think, oh, just get an Uber. You're in for a rude awakening if you rely on Uber here, because Ubers are hard to come by. Not even hard, I think it's pretty non-existent here. We took an Uber a couple times, but then on the way back, we couldn't get an Uber. Like, no Uber is available. Could be because of the pandemic, I don't know. All I know is I talked to one Uber driver and he was saying, yeah, I'm the only Uber driver here. So I'm like, okay. We went to the school here, buy an Uber, and then trying to get an Uber back, we couldn't. So then we had to ask the school, like, hey, do you have a taxi phone number? So we got a taxi, and given the taxi ride is super affordable. It was like €5 to get back to the city, which was fine, or even 4, I think. So it's been great if you have the phone number to a taxi person, because taxis are abundant and you can get a taxi, and they don't rip you off. Like, I had an experience before, not this time, but in the past, where I did an airport transfer from Lisbon to our Airbnb in Campo de Ourique, and the person charged me €50. Given that was my fault because I didn't tell, like, he didn't put the meter on, which should have been the biggest clue ever, but never had the experience before except for that time. But anyway, and it should have been €9 on the Uber because I looked, but we were just like, well, the taxi's here, so let's just go down the taxi route. But anyway. But yeah, overall, so many activities to do, so kid-friendly, everyone's so nice. And maybe another question you'll have is, do they speak English? How is the English? Okay, my Portuguese is like barely an A1 Portuguese, so very beginner Portuguese. But we have gotten away with just speaking English everywhere and had no issues whatsoever. So if you're just a person that's not good with languages, you'll be fine here, because we've only experienced one time where they didn't speak any English, and it wasn't an issue because we could use the sign language, like, I want this, or, you know, and they were perfectly fine with it. Overall though, it has been an amazing experience. I will be listing, or I want to have another video up about kid activities in this area, which was, a whole nother video, but it was so good. And then I want to do cost what I've spent so far, as well as I did a really fun one, which I spent €10, or I guess the goal was to spend €10 for the whole day, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you'll just have to stay tuned to see if I was actually able to do it. But yeah, I so appreciate everyone watching our videos thus far, and if you can, please like it and subscribe, because I'm gonna have so many videos up for you guys concentrating on how life in Portugal is with a big family. Because, you know, 3 kids, it's a big family nowadays. But yeah, I will catch you with the next video. Bye! Or should I say, adios, ciao.